Welcome to the UKOCR Community Podcast, presented by Obstacle Racing Media. Each episode, we'll be talking to race directors, elite runners, weekend warriors, and frankly, anyone else from the UKOCR scene that will talk to us. Here is your host, Alan, aka Muddy Duck.
Anywhere in Chicken Town. The bloody scene is bloody sad. The bloody news is bloody bad.
Greetings, friends, acquaintances, and anyone else just happens to be listening. Welcome to another edition of the UKOCR podcast. I hope everyone's had a really good weekend. There's been some racing up at Tartan Warrior. I don't know the results. Yeah, so as you know, I normally give you the results when I'm recording my intro on a Sunday afternoon. But I don't know the results. I've been dark for virtually a whole weekend. It was my birthday weekend, so I'm now officially old. Well, I've been officially old for a while. But I went down to Edale. Really weird, couldn't get connection in one part, but then I would be down the road and I could get connection somewhere else. So I've been a little bit dark this weekend, and I've just got back. It's 3:45 on a Sunday afternoon. I've just been and had my Sunday lunch at a local tow recovery. Had a quick look through social media, but not really caught up on everything, so I don't know what the results are. Keep your eye out though, because we will be fetching them to you on our social media this week. I hope you've been training hard. I hope you've been running well. Has anyone got a Garmin? My Garmin told me this week that I was unproductive. I only did a 5k run, well, 3.75 miles, just over 5k, at Edale. Went up the hill, back down, so nearly 400 metres of elevation, 20 mile an hour winds, driving rain, and I got back and it said it was an unproductive run. I'm not an happy bunny. Not an happy bunny at all. One Garmin Phoenix for sale. Yes, you have problems like that. I don't know if you do. Anyway, who have we got on this week? So this week I have got Barry Buchanan for you. Yeah, Barry Buchanan, high racing, part of the UKOCR series last year. Met him down at Nuts. He's a boxer. We talk about that. We talk about his running. We talk about his ability, what he's been doing. He's a bit of a family man as well. We talk a little bit on that. So I'm going to let you listen to it and see what you think. And we'll catch you back at the end. We are crossing the north-south divide. Barry Buchanan down in Hastings, if my research is right.
Yeah, down on the south coast. Yeah.
What's it like living down in Hastings? Isn't that where Richard Pringle comes from? Yeah,
Richard Pringle. Yeah, he's based in Hastings as well. Yeah, he with the RPC.
Yeah.
He's that's initially where I first sort of started racing before we became high OCR. Just sort of a natural progression, if you like, from RPC to the high, because Richard sort of phased out of the OCR stuff due to personal circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, his team RPC was massive, wasn't it?
At
one point, I think it was probably the biggest OCR team. I remember back in the year, about 2013, 2014. I think it was 40 members, 50 members?
Yeah, I mean, that was before my time. My first real bit of knowledge that they sort of existed was in 2015. And after I'd sort of done a few races for them between 2015 and I'd say late 2016. And then it sort of slowly started to wind down a bit. And then that's when we went into high. And it's just been there, but I know he's started back up the RPC training and whatnot. So you never know. You might see him back on a course sometime soon. Never say never.
Is that where you found OCR? Where did you find OCR?
I'd done a Tough Mudder for my 30th. I want to say back in 2013. Like just with a group of mates. Like none of my mates were like really into fitness or anything like that. But it was just like, the challenge. And then I really enjoyed it. And then I got invited to do Spartan over at Ashburnham Place, which Richard Pringle put on.
Yeah.
I think we went off at about 2:30, and there was eight of us, and we was like, right, it's a race between us. Let's
Yeah.
just see where we can go. And I didn't actually realise it was a proper race. I thought it was a bit like Tough Mudder, like you go for a challenge, have a laugh, and then that's it, sort of thing. But then I really enjoyed that. And then I found out it was a race, and then there was a league, like which was the Muscle League and stuff.
Yeah.
And it sort of went from there, to be honest. In 2016, I'd done my first proper race at Warrior Run down near Brighton.
Yeah.
Um,
I've actually got
done...
those results up. This is
really?
actually on my notes here. Second place.
Yeah, I think Lee Jackson beat me that first time. That's right.
Yeah.
And then I've done it again the following year or 6 months later, and I lost. I came second to Dave Rogers, I think.
Well, what a bloke to come second, so you can't go wrong with
that. Yeah. Yeah.
But when I look at it, you know, I mean, because I pulled this up and I was like, second place, and I was like, 2016, 2017 was it? I think it was. And I was like,
sounds about right.
Gosh, so you took some scalps here. When I look at them, we've got Joe Spencer, Lee Fuller, Toby Jenkins, Mark Efferman. When I'm going down this list, Tony Cooper. These are names back then that were like on the ball, that were like good runners.
Okay, I mean, again, like because it was so new, and I was still relatively fit from having like not long stop boxing. I just saw it as like just go until you can't go anymore. Like there was no sort of pacing, no strategy. It was just balls to the wall, and if I crash and burn, that's it. And sometimes it's still the case for me. I just go out and use a race as a fitness test and see where it falls.
I know you're part of Team High. What does High? First of all, what does High stand for?
High is just a play on words, because we're members of High Running Club, which we're just like the OCR arm, if you like. But it all started with the head coach and his son started a training altitude training center where you'd run in like hypoxic chambers and whatnot, and you get the benefits of training at altitude. And it's just a play on words, high, like because you're effectively training at height.
Yeah.
And it's just it's purely just a play on words, and it's stuck. I mean, it is high, not HY, but we'll take either.
Yeah. Do you go into these chambers and train then? Do you do that?
Yeah, twice a week. Do an hour.
What do you do in them?
They've got treadmills and a watt bike. If you're sort of carrying a niggle or whatnot, you can just sit on the watt bike for the hour, just spin your legs out, and it's purely about getting the exposure to this. I don't want to get this wrong. It's kind of like these generators. They'll suck out the oxygen. There's a reaction in this generator, and it'll push it back in, and it just stimulates training in Africa or in Colorado or something like that. One built up a good base, you can recover quicker. You can go for longer, go harder for longer, if you like. I mean, some people don't really notice a benefit, but I've found if I'm consistent with it, I can really feel it in my fitness.
There's got to be some benefit because, the best athletes do it, don't they? The best athletes go altitude training. Look at Jonathan Albon, how much Jonathan Albon's come on since he's gone over to Norway and he's living at altitude, and he was the best OCR runner in the UK, probably, well, the world, and probably still is. But now is rather it being an underground sport, because I still see OCR as a bit of an underground sport. He's now going mainstream, and he's doing the business mainstream.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I mean, again, I feel some people may not feel a benefit, but I know from my own personal fitness and my race performances and whatnot, if I've been consistent with it, like going in there twice a week for a number of weeks or whatever, but prior to a race, I tend to run really well or perform well. To whether I went in there before, like my last ever boxing match, before I went to Canada for Worlds. It is a game changer for me, and so I tend to. I do cycle it, so like every now and again I'll take a month out, but I really feel the benefits from it. So I just keep going in there twice a week. I've been in there this morning.
What did you do this morning? Treadmill or what bike?
Just a treadmill, yeah, just an easy run. I mean, it's not really about. You can do sessions in there, but it's not about thrashing yourself in there all the time because it gets super hot, and you're not. You're only going to get the same benefits from it.
Yeah.
So an easy run today. Done the session yesterday, and off to the gym later, hopefully.
And I was going to say because we're recording this the week after Nuts, and I saw you go down with a bit of a bang at Nuts. So you've got no lasting injuries there?
No. That was just a pure. Well, I wasn't paying attention where I put my feet. No, I'm fine. No, obviously I ached a bit, but nothing to worry about. I'm ready to try and set the record straight in April. Hopefully it'll be a bit warmer.
Fingers crossed for you. Fingers crossed for you. Is that in the 3K that you?
Yeah, I'll do the Nuts 3K and then the Spartan. I think that's a week after, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then push on from there hopefully, and just hopefully not freeze to death.
Will you be going for the full trifecta at Spartan, or are you just going to concentrate on that super and the big race, or?
I'll just do the super at Spartan. I don't tend to race back to back unless there's a real benefit. For instance, the one later in the year where you got the Beast and then the UK Champs. Potentially I'll go back to back then, but I think I just have to see how the fitness is and who's doing what. We all want to do well in the British Champs. Let's be honest.
Yeah, we do. Well, not me, but the elite athletes do. Is Pippinford a good venue for you because you got European champion in your age group there?
Yeah, I've tend to always run pretty solidly there. I mean, last year, it was decent. I mean, I was surprised that I was able to run in my age group because I hadn't actually done any age group races, but they wouldn't let me enter into the elite race. I contacted Spartan and they said, no, this is what you've got to do. And that was that. I thought, okay, it suits me in the championship race.
Yeah.
I mean, being nearly 40, I'm not really, I shouldn't be anywhere near the top, and I didn't think I would be. So it suited me.
You say that we've got Mark Dixon at his age who's beating some of the young whippersnappers out there.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I did try going into the elite because obviously that's all I'd done, and he had the opposite of what I had. They said, no, this is the race you can only enter because I bought the season pass last season and I pre-booked it, and then there was some sort of issue, so I had to contact Spartan to pay an upgrade for the championships, and then when I went to do that, they wouldn't give me the elite code to enter the elite race and all of that. So I had the opposite of what Mark had, which was a bit peculiar, but what can you do?
You can only race what you're allowed to race, and you've just got to go out and do your best in whatever category you're in, can't you?
And yeah, exactly. And to be fair, on the Friday before, when we went to go to pick up our race packs, I fully expected them to say for something to come up, and I sort of mentioned it to the person under the counter, and they were like, "No, here's your pack, age group. That's what race you're going in." Oh, okay, fine. It suits me. I mean, I was in decent shape.
Yeah. But definitely in decent shape. I mean, just taking AG champ is out there. So the plan this year is more to stay in that elite section and compete against the best.
Yeah, I mean, if for the in the UK races, I'll always race the highest level that I can, and what but like Spartan, I'll always race elite, and well, I say elite, where they put us, I
Yeah.
don't. I use that term very loosely. It's just the level that we are at. I
I
guess.
prefer competitive. I prefer
Yeah,
competitive
elite
ladies.
sounds a bit, up yourself in a way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't ever call myself elite at all. I'm just someone who tries to run as hard and fast as they can. And I'm never going to break any records. I'm not going to be a professional athlete. So that's what the elites are really. So the goal is to be as competitive as I can for the year. See where the fitness is towards the end of the season. Hopefully, come championship season, I'll be in good enough shape to hopefully have a little bit more success before potentially winding down as I'm getting older.
I like that as you're getting older. You're only 40.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing. I always said I'll stop when I'm 40, due to having a young family, and I've got a daughter who I'm traveling up and down the country with because she's an athlete, and it's becoming harder and harder for me. But I guess now I am 40 in about 12 weeks. I do worry that I can't stop because I don't want. Obviously, you're a long time retired, and
Yeah.
you see people age when they do stop doing something that they enjoy, and so that's a bridge that I might cross later in the year where I might not be able to stick to my initial word, but we'll see. The goal was to stop at 40, but I've already got plans post 40. But I'm going to call it my 40th year.
I'm one of these people that I ran until I couldn't run. I raced until I couldn't race, and through injury, I now do. I tend to do more silly challenges now. So rather than run fast, it's like, well, how far can you run, or can you do this a little bit different? I did tough guy with a car tire attachment to my back. So just doing silly things like that is my thing. Now I can't race.
Yeah, I mean, I think when that day does come, and I do decide to actually stop racing, I might try and help bring others into it, like try and organize a small group of friends or just local people if I can get them to a race close enough. I mean, we've got a few people from the running club actually that are coming to the Spartan racing. Or is there one in? Yeah, the one in August.
Yeah.
We've managed to get 4 or 5 of them to come and do that. So myself, and a few other team are all doing that. Dean Constable, Sophie McGoldrick, Jason Wright, Ollie, Garcia Bennett, and Chris Shipley. I think we're all going down there to race, and then there's a few of us afterwards that are going to rerun the course with a group of runners from the club who've never done one before. So hopefully, later on they might come back. And then I think that'll be what I want to do when I stop, just sort of try and encourage people to come and at least give it a go.
That's amazing. How good would it be if every OCR athlete at this moment in time made one decision to try and get one more non-OCR athlete into the sport?
I think, I mean, it'd be great, but whether it'll be doable remains.
We could start a trend here. We could start a trend, Barry. I'm going to try. That's going to be my aim. That this year, I want at least one person who's never done OCR to do OCR. I
mean, I think if the weather's good, there's no reason for them not to enjoy it, because obviously if they go in like an open wave later on in the day, there's no pressure to complete the obstacle. They're not going for a position or a time or anything like that. So I think it's a good idea to potentially later on in life, when I do stop racing fully, to just sort of try and get small groups, 2 or 3 people that have never done it, to come and have a go. I mean, we did have a group of old school mates that were signed up to a Spartan just before COVID came, and I think there's about 20 of them. They're all really up for it. Some of them are even training, but then the race got cancelled and it all sort of went down the pan, to be honest. They was like, no, I'm not up for it now. I'm not doing it. So they'll probably be my first line of attack. You you said you'd do it once. Let's have a go.
You just touched on schoolmates there. Let's go back a little bit and talk about that. What was school like for you? Was you a swatter, or was you a sports person at school? What was your school life like?
No, I mean, I started off at school trying to be good. I was like my homework for the first couple of years in secondary school. I was a good boy. Yeah. And then I started, and then I think I wouldn't say the down point, but the change came when I started boxing. I was bullied a little bit at school, and go boxing. And then one of my friends from the close that I lived in, he was like, I want to go, but I don't want to go on my own. So they sort of coerced me up to the club, and I loved it. It's the best thing I've ever done. Apart from having children, because it then taught me to respect myself, to respect others, and it taught me how to sort of look after myself a bit. But then with that confidence came a little change in my attitude, and like my efforts at school, I mean, they suffered. So I mean, I did like muck about a bit, like towards the late when school got important. I wasn't interested in school, and that's something I wish I could change, but it's one of those things.
Hindsight, they say hindsight, isn't it?
Yeah. And sports wise, I was keen to do the sports, but I was not natural. I mean, there's always in the football, there's always a lot of like better boys than me. I went to an all boys school. Like a lot of much better boys at football. I wasn't into the rugby. Like playing and athletics, running, it's very easy for me to then run hard, stop and walk. So I was never really a standout sports boy at school, sportsman at school. No, I just did it because I guess I got out of class. Once I started boxing, it was just get out of class.
You surprised me there when you said you went into rugby. I mean, I know you're wearing a rugby shirt now. You're wearing the England rugby shirt, but irrelevant of that, you do look like a rugby player. You do look like a high quality rugby player. I'm sure you could go out quite easily on a night out, and people would take you as a rugby player.
I think it's the hard paper round, Alan. I've not aged well.
I like that.
To be fair, like the boxing, not a kind sport. I think that's not helped. I always frown. I frown a lot. So and a stern face. I guess that's come from the boxing, and the hard paper around the stern face. And I think that's why potentially people give me a wide berth, maybe, because I look angry. Like Mark Dixon
Menacing.
Always gives me grief. Well, actually, I'm not. I don't feel
No, you're not.
I'm trying to be, but Dixon always gives me grief for it. But it's one of them things. I can't change the way I look, but I'm not angry. I'm not an angry person.
I mean it's the first time we talked at Nuts, wasn't it? It's the first time we talked at Nuts, and we had a good chat. You know what I mean? I was like,
I was just conscious of when someone told me I was on Instagram Live falling over in that ditch, and I was adamant. I knew I swore, and I was like, "That's not going to help. That's not going to help people thinking I'm not an angry, bitter person." So I was like, "I better apologise if it was live."
Have you been back and had a look? Did you actually swear? No, I haven't been back and had a look, if I'm honest.
I've not had a look, to be fair. I thought I'd just leave it. It's an embarrassment anyway, just falling over in a 7-inch water with nothing around me, nobody around me. I'd rather not see it, to be fair.
I didn't catch it that good. People didn't see that the fall that bad.
Yeah.
Let's go boxing. That was next on my list. You was quite a good boxer. I've read an article. By the way, do you know someone at Sussex World Media Company? Because we researched you. So me and Ian had a quick look at you, and Ian, you have got more articles in Sussex World than anyone I've ever come across.
Sussex, what is that, like a publication of some description?
Yes, it's a publication. It's all about Sussex, but there's several articles on you about Spartan, about your boxing. You know, it was quite easy to find things out about you.
I've never heard of it.
And the one we got about your boxing, it was published by the newsroom on 21st of June 2011. Barry punches weight at top event. One of West Hill's top performers excelled at Europe's largest senior open boxing tournament. And I think this must have been a knockout boxing tournament, because you won your first two, and then it looks like, did you lose in the final? Do you remember it, first of all?
Yeah, I remember. That's the Haringey Box Cup. It's held at the Alexandra Palace. Yeah, that's held over 4 days. I think we went up to the Ali Pali on the Thursday, had to weigh in, and then I boxed that day, and I beat a lad called not the Paolo, Claudio Paolo or something like that, maybe.
Yep, that's what it says on here. Yeah.
Yep. I beat him in the quarterfinals. I think there was, I can't think about. I had 3 bouts over 4 days, and then the semi-final, I boxed a lad from Islington. I can't think of his name. Another hard bout.
Claudio Paolo, who was from Peacock Gym in London, and then I have got Dan Woodward from Islington.
And then the final was Craig Callahan from a club in Liverpool.
But also Craig Callahan, it says, was a professional boxer in the United States the year before.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure that was completely legal back then, but I did see that he was over in the States once we'd boxed, and to be fair, he did beat me. You know, I was exhausted. My coach tried every trick in the book to get me going, but I think holding the weight and the two hard bouts in previous days, I think my journey to the final might have been a little bit harder than his, and he deserved the win. To be fair, not much I can do about that now.
But was that the highlight of your boxing career? You know, getting to the final of that, or
no? I mean, it's up there. I mean, I boxed ABA national quarterfinals. I boxed Anthony Agogo, who went on to win an Olympic bronze medal. In London 2012. I mean, he was too good for me. That wasn't even close. It was about that's the day I realised about the levels. You know, he was too good for me. I boxed back in 2005 or 6. I boxed somebody that was ranked currently 4 in GB on my local home show. I never once thought I'd beat him after he gave me a pasting in sparring about a year prior. When they said I was boxing him, I was absolutely bricking it. But it was one of those days everything clicked, and I'd done the business. And that was much of the way of my boxing career. Some days I'd be really good. Some days I'd be really bad. And as frustrating as it is, it's just what it is. You know, I mean, if I was good all the time, I might not be sitting here now.
I mean, boxing's a big difference to OCR, because in OCR, you're very much in control of everything you do. In boxing, you're in control of what you do, but there's someone else out there that's also in control. And it's a tough sport.
Yeah, that's where you got to try and impose your will. That's what it is. It's just your will against theirs, and who can get off better, and that's all it is. But I look back at my boxing, I do feel as though what I had physically, maybe I did underachieve, but mentally, I wasn't on it consistently enough to really get to those real heights. It's done now. You know, I can look back fondly. It kept me off the streets. You know, a lot of my mates went in a different direction, kept me off the streets, and I'm still going at 40 to a fairly decent level.
Yeah,
So I'm happy.
Whereabouts did you find running? So did running come while you were boxing? Was it just part of training? At what point did you realise you were fast?
Do you know what? When I was boxing, I hated running. My coach always used to give me white bollockings because he was like, "Are you running?" I'm like, yeah. But then performances in the gym were showing I wasn't running as much as I said I was. And then I stopped boxing because I got fed up of. There was a period where I had a couple of bouts and absolutely ripped off by the judges, and I couldn't do it anymore. You know, I was starving myself to make a weight, training incessantly hard, like just constant. And I just thought I can't do this anymore. And by this time, I had a young daughter, like a stepdaughter, and I had a young daughter, and yeah, it wasn't fair on them for me to be grumpy all the time because I was hungry. So I stopped, and then I'd done nothing. But I found that after that, my mood, I wasn't very happy because that constant training, I guess the endorphins and dopamine that you're getting from all that training, then stop. You see it all the time in the real top elites. I guess it happens to everybody. And my wife said, "You've got to sort it, and you know, you've got to do something." And then the local running coach, Terry Skelton, he said to me for years, "Go running, come running." And I never did, but I went one day because it gave me something to do, something to look forward to have a race. But I realised over time, running didn't quite satisfy me, like just straight road racing or cross. It didn't satisfy me. So I stopped, and I just flirted with running, to be honest, for the most part, like drifted in and out. And then when I started, when I'd done that first Spartan race, I realised that's when I met a few of the guys that I race with now. Kind of like, this is a proper thing. Like, you know, if you train properly, like done some more running, you'd be a bit better and stuff. And that's where it sort of really snowballed. I started running really consistently, and I found my way into the gym, and that's it. I mean, I've never really called myself fast, but I can hang sort of thing with some of the better runners in the town. But there are some that's again on another level. But I can I'm middle of the pack.
There's a big difference though, isn't there, between running on road and then running what we do. You know, I've seen many a fast runner on road try and run off road and especially try and run through mud and they can't. You know, we're talking the super slow, and people who are middle of the pack can overtake them in some instances, not in all instances. I'm not going to say in all instances, but it's a certain type of breed of runner that can run over multi surfaces where potentially you can hurt yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when I look at the town's fast road runners, I'm confident that I would. You know, they absolutely smash me on a road race or on a track race, but get them into my domain, it would be different, obviously. But that then obviously my strengths would be that I'm physically strong compared to what they're like. In comparison to what they are for what they need, and that's where my training's a lot different to what theirs would be. But you know, it's nice to try and train with them, especially at the track. Or on the roads, or like doing on the road. We've got a lovely long straight flat seafront. Trying to run with them along there is it's hard work, you know. And if I can be within a certain distance, I'm happy because I know I'm working hard and I can still turn the legs over, even being a completely different build to what they are.
Yeah, no, I mean you are fast. Irrelevant to that, you are fast. I was gonna go on to how you relax, because we just talked about like your endorphins and moving in and out. And I looked at your Instagram earlier, I want to know about the carp fishing, because you have caught some pretty big fish.
That's, I mean, that's the way I switch off. Like, for instance, after the Spartan Euros last year, the very next day, I flew down to France. I got the dates wrong. I thought we was going to France the week after the Euros. That's why I committed to it. And then when I found out they were driving down on the Friday, I was like, "Ugh, I've trained all year for these races, obviously because we hadn't long been back from the States." And I said, I'm not going fishing. I'm going to go to the Euros." But then I looked online, and there was a flight for I think it's about £46. I was like, well, I sort of cleared it with Lisa, my wife. She's like, yeah, just go straight after the race. So that's what I've done. And yeah, I try to go to France once a year for a week, just to completely unwind, like no phone signal, like really, and you just sort of completely unwind and just let your body recover. I mean, the day after I got down there on the Sunday after the Euros, my best mate and my brother were there. We had the lake to ourselves. We had the food on the go, bottle of beer waiting for me, and I just sort of sat there and just completely unwound. Just drank beer and caught some fish. Yeah, and I don't go too often because I don't want to take liberties indoors. To be fair,
Yeah.
I go training every day. I race, at least once a month. So it's once or twice a year. Yeah, it's a nice way to just chill out and unwind.
Yeah, I've done a bit of fishing. I like a bit of sea fishing and that. I went down to Wales. My dad's sister, her husband owned part of a river in Wales where they had proper salmon, and I did a bit of fly fishing down there. But literally, I wouldn't have said it was fishing because there was that much salmon. You could literally just throw it in and pull it out, and you caught one. The way you're fishing, I mean, it's a little bit. I mean, these are big fish. I mean, what's the biggest you've caught?
Well, the biggest carp I've caught is £56.
Wow.
I've had a sturgeon at a lake in France, which went to 77, which was horrendous to try and bring in. But for us, it's completely different to like the salmon fishing or like the tiddler bashing that you could do like at most local ponds. It's kind of like a bait and wait, if you like. You just find a nice clear spot in the lake, which you can sort of then put some bait on, and then you sort of chuck your rig on, and you kind of just wait. And then that's where the relaxation is, because you can just be at peace. You know your rods are doing what they're meant to do, and if there's no noise, you just carry on relaxing. And then when the noise happens from your receiver, it's time to sort of see what's going on. But it's some people really obsess over it, like my mate and my brother. They go all the time, but it's not for me. I'd get bored if I went too often. To be fair, I'm too busy, like mentally and physically. I don't like doing it too often because I just find I'll get a bit fidgety. So once a year is good enough for me.
I don't think I could do it. That sit and wait. I couldn't do that. I've got my phone. I mean, I'm talking to you now, and I've got my phone that's on my desk, and I've got my iPad that's on my desk, and my computer's flashing, and I'm seeing messages come up, and I'm thinking I'll reply to that later, and I'll reply. And I'd love to be able to switch off like that. I just can't do it. But it must be a good feeling. The endorphins when you catch a fish, is that just as much as the running?
No. It's that's more of a satisfaction knowing that the work you've put in, like into say finding a spot within a certain area, and then knowing that you've put the right style of rig with the right bait at the right spot, and it's all done. And it's all done where it's supposed to do. It's just a satisfaction, and it's it's nice to sort of. And some of these, I mean, a lot of people on here may not agree with the whole angling thing, but it's a great satisfaction knowing that that's all works. What I've done is right, and then you get a nice picture, put it back safely, and you can just, when you catch a real big one, you can celebrate with your mates with a barbecue and
Yeah.
a couple of bottles of beer, do you know? But for me, it's just completely switch off. Yeah, it's nice. I've got such a busy life in general with wife and family and work, and obviously then my training and racing. It's just a little bit of time to just completely switch off and not worry about anything at all. You know, I have been fishing and I've not caught anything, but I've still come back refreshed because whilst that's stressful, it's just nice because I've just completely chilled out. My body's recovered. I'm mentally recharged, ready to go again.
Exactly. Mark Dixon could never call you Mr. Angry again, can he? You know, now we know that you are chilled and relaxed.
Well, I'm sure he will. I think he thrives on that because he gets a reaction out of me.
That's the only reason why he does it. What's 2023 hold for you then, Barry? What's the plans? I know we just talked about Spartan Super.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do the 4 Spartan. I mean, obviously, it's not a series anymore or anything like that, but it's the 4 races that they released. I think is it 1 Super, 1 Sprint, 2 Beasts.
Yeah.
I've got tickets for those. Got a Challenge Cup ticket. I'll do the winter nuts. I'm never doing that again. the nuts time trial.
Yeah.
And then UK champs in October. Andorra. I'm going to Andorra in June, which I may have made a mistake on. My wife was, because I've turned 40, she was like, let's do something for you, like go away. So I said, I've heard Hungary and Andorra are nice. And she's like, that's quite specific. What races are on? And I'm like, but physically, I think I'm more suited to the Spartan race than the OCR Euros. Although I'd like to give the OCR Euros a try. I think this year, because of where they are, I think the prestige of like going through like the Andorran mountain ranges is going to be a bit better than Hungarian fields and forests. So I've gone for that this year. And hopefully, you know, if all going well, get selected for the FISO. And if I can, I'll fit in a few more races within the UK OCR series. But for me, it's picking choosing my battles wisely in terms of how often I can get away due to family life. You know, my daughter's competing all over the place all the time. It's ridiculous how much we're traveling with her. And really and truly, my wife, she's been training for Manchester Marathon since just before Christmas. So, you know, it's about not being so as selfish with the time, so they can go and do what they need to do.
I get that. For the OCR series, though, you've got 3 races in there. You know, for the UK OCR series, you've got your Challenge Cup, you have got Spartan coming up, and did you say you was going to the championships? So the UK championships, that's 3. You're just going to sneak another one in there.
I think Scotty, he said he's on our race plan. He said maybe, is it Road Rampage? Is that in July sometime? So maybe try and squeeze that one in.
June,
is it
18th of June.
Yeah. Oh yes, that's just after the Euros, isn't it? If I can squeeze that one in, I will. But again, I mean, if I'm that close, I will try and get that 4th one in. That's something I have to try and push my luck. Use one of my free passes.
Get the brownie points built up. I'm still making them up for having a weekend away. Doing the awards. I'm still trying to make mine up.
Well, I've got something. I think I might have some stored up. I've just decorated our girls' room and done lots of DIY. So hopefully they'll have some in. I'll be in credit. Yeah.
It's always good to be in credit. Barry, thank you for coming and joining me, letting people know a little bit about you. It's always good to get the people behind the face. I like to say the people behind the face because we don't always know what everyone's like. We don't know what people are about. And everyone loves to find out what's there. I think you're going to get more people come up to you now and talk to you.
Well, only time will tell there. I think it depends how the next race goes. If I keep having a face like I did last Saturday, I maybe not, but hopefully, because trying to dispel the myth that I'm unapproachable.
I did say to you on Saturday, I was so worried for you when you didn't come in over that finish line and you'd gone home. Well, I thought you'd gone home.
Yeah, I on that ladder monkey bar, I just thought I was going through. I was getting through it okay on my second attempt, but something in my head just said, Barry, this is silly. Just go and get dry and warm. And I didn't even think. It didn't dawn on me that I was so close to the finish line. The marshal didn't say anything. I asked, how can I get off this silly course? And he just said, that way. So that's where I went. And I didn't mean to make anyone worry. But I was just in the van trying to warm up, get dry.
And that makes sense. It was a cold day. It was a very cold day out there.
I think I'm just going soft in my old age, Alan, if I'm honest, because I've done winter nights before, but last 2 times I've done it, I've not finished, and that's enough for me. I'm not doing it again. Maybe next year I'll marshal, so I'll try and be warm.
You'll be doing summer nuts though, won't you? Because it's so close to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I do summer nuts because it's generally it's always in September, nice and warm. I'm not going to be hypothermic by the time I finish. I'll always do summer.
Do you go to any specific gyms? Because there's quite a lot of gyms down there. We've got PT Barn down there, Lions Den, which is not far from you.
Well, I've worked with Scotty as one of his coached athletes for the last, I want to say 3 and a bit years. Obviously, it was quite tricky to sort of get any sort of rapport during the whole COVID time, but he'd send me programs. And it was a slow build, and obviously last year quite successful, and it's turned around my whole OCR career as such, having a coach. So I try to get up there as often as I can, but when I can't, Rick Burgess at his place at Lions Den always lets us go. It's very welcoming to let us train, to be fair, and I'm grateful for that, because without him allowing us to train over there, obstacle work would be very, very minimal, obviously, because whilst the PT barn's only an hour and 20 minutes away on a good one, on a bad one it could take 2.5 hours, and you can't always get that sort of time. So grateful to Scotty and Rick, especially the teammates. They're we're always sort of encouraging each other, and to Terry at high altitude, without that sort of work, my fitness might not be where it tends to be later in the season.
Cool. Last question. I always ask people this: what shoes do you run in?
I run in the Innovates. Last year I ran in the Innovate Mud Claws. I think it's an older model. I bought it on sale just before I went to America, actually, because I think there was, what race was it? Summer Nuts just before it was Summer Nuts, and I was drying my shoes out on my doorstep and they got pinched. I don't know if it was a fox or someone walked past and thought they're going to nick
nice pair of Innovates.
So I had to buy a new pair for America. I think I ran in them once before I went to America, but it worked out all right, to be fair. So running Innovates, that's the only shoe I've ever run in, to be honest, like OCR. I have just worn a Hoka Speedgoat 5 for the first time last weekend on a trail run, which I wasn't too sure on to begin with, but as they sort of broke in, they're nice. But I think I'll always stick to a mud claw, an Innovate mud claw, to be fair. That or X-Talon.
I like people who stick to a brand of shoe. Like, I can't stick to a brand. I am a freak. I have more different pairs of trainers, and I'll run them in them literally for 5 races, and then I'll put them to one side and buy a new pair. I'm very much like that.
I have to be careful in that respect. My daughter gets all the trainers now. I only tend to buy shoes when the when the sales are on.
Barry, thank you again once again.
It's
a pleasure speaking to you. And if you want to give a shout out to, and I know you've done a few now, if you want to give a shout out to anyone, you're free to do it right now.
Just all the team at High OCR, Terry Skelton, Scotty PT. Without his training, I wouldn't have been half as successful as what I have been recently. Rick Burgess at Lions Den again. Thanks for letting us train, and all the likely lads like Dixon, Richard Jarvis, Tony Leary, all the gang that, we sort of, whilst we're in competition, always encourage each other, and it's great to be part of that social dynamic. It's decent. It makes it worth getting up early to go and train, knowing you've got people supporting you like that all the way around.
Well, there you go. That's me and Barry. I hope you enjoyed that. While I've been editing and I've been waiting for it to do what it needs to do, I've been looking for the results and I found them from Titan Warrior this weekend. So it looks like the 100 metre results. Females, Becky Neal, Louise Ferryman, Sandy Powell. Males, Tony Matthews, Samuel Clark and Oliver Adey. And then in the 8K results, so this is the Scottish OCR, Kate Steelwell made it 2 from 2, taking the win. 1 minute ahead of Karen McQuarrie, and was a further minute behind was Lauren MacArthur. So 3 minutes separated the first 3. And in the men's, Russell Walsh making it 2 from 2. Morgan Maxwell travelled all the way up from down near Rumble Racing, Milton Keynes area, somewhere around that area, I believe it is. Only 10 seconds behind. Looks like that was a close race. And third, Samuel Clark. So it looks like Kate Stillwell and Russell Walsh are 2 from 2 in the Scottish OCR League. Let's see what happens, eh? Let's see what happens. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed listening to that. Wanting to ask you to give us a review. Yeah, I'm always asking for something, aren't I? But I want to ask you to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. Me and Ian are convinced that Apple Podcasts are not giving us true stats, because in Italy, one of our podcasts is number 7 or 8, something like that, for running, and we don't think that's right, especially when last week it only had 2 downloads, so we can't be 7 or 8 in Italy for that when we're seeing stats of only 2 downloads in Italy. So yeah, I want you to leave us a review and just see if it makes a difference to our UK stats, because we do think that there's something with the algorithms about leaving a review. So just 2 seconds, just pop on and just put whatever you want to put. Load of rubbish, don't like it, or good, thanks very much. Probably the 19th best podcast in the world for people who have a Nokia 3330 still, or something like that. Anyway, thank you for listening. You take care. We love you all. Speak soon. Bye.
I don't know what you want. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side. My love, you say you wanna try, but you never do.